scene, and everything in between. So buckle up and join in on the conversation. It's The Drive.
Don't take no slap. Got a thirst for killing. Think about it.
Welcome back to The Drive. Excited to be with everybody today. Got a little bit of a big show going on if you haven't heard. Our guy Dad Gum right here, Jim Gum, in the building, along with Jake and Mason on this rainy Thursday. Looks like the weather's starting to move into our area, but big show that Dad Gum over here set up for us. Really excited to have Rich Clark, the executive director of the College Football Playoff. This is the guy in charge of the College Football Playoff.
Yeah, if you ever watch the rankings when they come out on Tuesday nights, you always have Reese Davis there, and he'll always interview the executive director at the end of each show. And of course, for years it was Bill Hancock. Bill Hancock retires. Last year, Rich Clark took over. And, he was the guy that was being interviewed every Tuesday evening by Reese Davis and, kind of going over, some of the things that were going on, some of the quirkiness about the way that the selections are gone. They go each and every week. But, this guy, he's got 1 year under his belt, so we're excited about having him here in about 15 minutes.
And not just that, like he's got an impressive career.
Oh, yeah.
Like the bio sheet for this guy is insane. Like you want a guy like this in charge of the college football playoffs. We're going to go over some of the stuff that he's done later in the show. But man, like what a impressive human being he is. First off, also alongside of what he does in the college football world.
Think about this. We take college football really seriously and we get really into it. We're upset and mad and stuff like that. Think about what he's gone through. He goes, guys, in the big picture, this is not as important as stuff that I've had to endure. I mean, this guy he's been flying missions into the Middle East. He's been probably shot at multiple times. This is nothing compared to what he's gone through in his illustrious career. So, yeah, we're excited about having him for sure.
Yeah, big deal. Going to get to kind of pick his brain about the process of picking the college football playoff, how that all goes down, some opinions. We're going to ask some hard-hitting questions here with the guy that has all the answers. So we're excited to do that. We've got a little bit of feedback on social media from people saying, or some text messages of our listeners and friends saying, hey, ask him this, ask him that. So we're going to try to get all those questions answered with the executive director of the College Football Playoff, Rich Clark. Very, very exciting to have him on the show today. But listen, I've got him in some fences real quick, but before we move on too far. And I was able to listen to you guys yesterday and enjoyed the show. You guys did a great job. And first of all, before I'm in fences, I just want to throw this out there. Nebraska is not what Nebraska used to be. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. But anyway.
We'll get into that. We all know they're not what they once were, but they're still located in the same place.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like it was a tropical paradise back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Right. Listen, they don't call them the Cornhuskers for nothing.
Yeah.
I got a call from my sister and my wife that says, how do you know anything about Nebraska football? And I said, honey, I love football. It's not a big deal. And she's like, but you can't remember to turn the washer on when you leave the house. So
it's a real struggle.
It is. The fact that I can store that kind of stuff in my brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as far as mending some fences here, I kind of, and I put you guys in a tough spot here as well. Before we went to the Lookouts game the other night, the whole station, WCLE, we were down there celebrating, just having a good outing together. Chattanooga Lookouts, a phenomenal host, by the way. Great experience, had a lot of fun down there. But our very own owner of the station, Steve Hartline, threw out the first pitch. And I told him, I said, Steve, I don't know if you listened to the show. And before I could say anything else, he goes, oh, I listened. Oh, I heard. So he knew. And I put you guys in a spot. I said, listen, the pressure's on Steve. If he too bounces it, he's going to hear it from us. And I encouraged you guys a little bit to jump on board with me, on board of the give Steve Hartline a hard time. And was it you, Jim, that said if you miss, you better miss high?
Well, I told him, I said, Steve, it doesn't matter who it is. If it's the president of the United States, now you wouldn't boo a 6-year-old little girl doing this, but any adult that throws out a first pitch,
Phillies fans might.
Well, it's true. They did boo Santa Claus. So if an adult throws the first pitch and it bounces up there, You're getting booed. It doesn't matter who you are. You're getting booed, and justifiably so. I told him, I said, if you get a miss high. He didn't miss.
No, he did a good job. So I want to publicly on air, since I wasn't here yesterday and didn't get to join that conversation, you guys pumping him up, making him feel like he's going to be on a big league roster, like he could help the Braves this year. I don't know. you guys did a good job with that. But I do want to say Steve Hartline, when it comes to the categories of first pitch, he's in the champion category. So let's give Steve a hand real quick. Let's go ahead and do that.
Right.
Yeah. So very proud of Steve delivering a phenomenal first pitch. It was a little chin music. Had someone have been in the box, it would have backed him off the plate a little bit, but I'm all for that. Pedro Martinez made a living doing that.
I will say this, and of course we don't have video to prove it, but about 2 minutes after Steve threw his first pitch, there was a little kid out there. I mean, I'm telling you.
He probably about 7 years old.
He threw a seed. I mean, that ball, it popped. It popped the mitt. This kid, of course, he probably is one of the best players on his little league team. But, man, he got up there and he fired that ball in there. I was like, whoa. So, yeah, well, that was fun.
Hey, as we're talking about this, there's some breaking news in the baseball world. Steve Hartline is on the IL with an injured rotator cuff. So it came in clock. I think they clocked him at what, like 35 miles an hour? Is that right?
Somewhere around in there.
You go ahead and dig that hole.
I'm going back into it here, but no, Steve did a great job. So I had to bring that up and talk about it since I wasn't here yesterday. But another thing I want to talk about, and those of you that listen to our sister station in the morning, Mixed Mornings on Mix 104.1, Jim, you guys had brought this up and talked about it. I know Austin did, but the NFHS has made the decision to add another base at first base. And tell you what, and you said this on the morning show.
I knew where you were going to go with this, man.
And Jacob coaches middle school baseball, so this is going to affect you guys as well.
Yep.
I'm extremely frustrated to hear this because they say it's in the name of injury prevention. I don't like, you see some collisions occasionally when there's a boom play at first base, but I've been watching a lot of high school baseball, a lot of college baseball over the past 10 years or so, and I don't know how many times I've seen a serious injury take place at first base in those scenarios. Now, there's times where guys, they hit a line drive and hit a gapper, and they're running down the line, and just the way they land on first can cause an injury just as a freak accident. But I've not seen these crazy collisions to the point that, hey, we need to change the rule. We need to change our field.
Do me a favor. Explain to the people out there that don't understand what the double base is and where it is located. Try to paint that picture.
Yeah, so down the first baseline, you've got the normal from over 150 years now, first base.
It's in fair territory.
Yes, it is inside, so to the left side of the first baseline. Mm-hmm. And it's a good spot to where the lane is for the runner to run straight through the bag, and it's at a good spot to where the first baseman can get the edge, get the corner of the bag, and extend out, scoop, catch, whatever he needs to do to make the defensive play. For over 150 years, we've not really had a whole lot of issues with that. Now, occasionally, we've got an Alex Rodriguez swatting at someone trying to make a catch as he runs down the first baseline. But this was in the name of injury prevention. What I worry about, now we're going to add that. We've seen it in softball. Softball's been doing it. Division I baseball has been doing it. NCAA Division I baseball now for, was this the second year of them doing it? So essentially what they're doing is putting another bag side by side. So this is going to be to the right side.
A different color base.
Yeah, different colored base in foul territory. And the idea behind it is it's to give the runner his own area, which, listen, we saw it, I believe it was North Carolina during the I think it was Super Regional. North Carolina and whoever they played in the Super Regional, there was a collision because guess what? Bad throws happen, and it carried them into the runner's lane. That's going to happen regardless of if there's a second first base there or not. So those are the only instances I can remember seeing any issues is when there's a bad throw, an errant throw. So my problem with this is we continue to tweak and mess, and we know Major League Baseball, we've got an automated strike zone probably coming sooner than later.
Yeah, that's the rumor.
And we continue to tweak what a lot of people consider the most best game in the world. And I'm not a fan of that. Like, it's not been broke for 150 years. why are we trying to fix it?
Yeah, we started the guy starting at second base in extra innings during the COVID year, and what COVID had to do with that is beyond me. But they've kept that. They made the bases slightly bigger. They think that was going to be something to, encourage more space stealing, and they thought it was a safety thing as well. And then we're doing this.
Well, the takeout slides at second base.
This is a high school. This is a high school thing. Will we ever see the double bag in Major League Baseball? At this point, I'll never say no, because they've proven me wrong, because I never thought in my wildest dreams we'd ever have a guy starting the inning at second base without an at bat.
I think you'll probably it will eventually happen. If it's happening at all these lower leagues, it's going to happen. I'm with you. I don't like this. To me, a bad throw is going to be a bad throw, and it's going to take you wherever the ball's going to go.
Into the lane of the runner.
When you're reacting to it, you're not going to think, I better not go step on the second bag. Like, you're going to try to go get the baseball, and you're going to try to get the out. Like,
and by the way, that base is only good for when you've batted the ball. After that, that's not a safe haven. You got to be on the white base at that point.
You've seen players step on that bag thinking that they've rounded the bag, and then they've come back to it and stepped on that one and been tagged out.
Yeah.
Like, that's been a play that
crazy.
I've seen a couple videos like that.
And another question I have, I know this is weird, but like, is that anchored into the ground?
Yes,
or is it?
it is.
So
It's
like,
there.
It's like a separate anchor.
It's there.
Usually what it is, you know how the base
So we're gonna have to change
as a center support. That base is almost like sewn to it. It's not got its own support.
Okay.
But it's a hard. It's attached pretty
I mean,
severely.
to me, that's a safety issue in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because like you put those things into the ground. Like, what if you're running and it jars out and
I saw a couple where I think that they are permanent because they leave them out for tournaments and other things.
So we're gonna have to change every baseball field in America.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's going to cause an expense for some of these schools that don't need to have the expense to add that mounting system that it takes to put another bag down. But this is what bothers me, and we're going to go to break here in just a minute. But what gets me is here's an injury potential. You're trying to avoid injuries when you've got a runner on first and there's a hard hit line drive that you think might be a gapper, and the guy on first leads a little bit far off. When he's getting back, how many times do you see guys hustle back and stay on their feet, but their momentum carries them past the bag? Well, if they land on the normal first base with that right foot and their momentum carries them further, guess where you're planting your foot? Guess where you're planting your ankle?
On that other base.
Either on that other base or right off the side, or if you try to avoid it and your toe catches it,
Twist that ankle?
You're twisting and rolling an ankle. So you're substituting one group of injuries for a potential of a whole nother group. So I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Same
Well, hey,
here. Same here.
with that, we're going to take a quick break. Jim, you got anything good for us?
I do. Duracell, our friends across the street here, our friends at Duracell are now hiring mechanical skilled technicians, $22 to $27 an hour. Excellent benefits beginning day one: medical, dental, vision, paid vacation, holiday pay, 401k, tuition reimbursement, and more. Apply now at Duracell.com. That's Duracell.com. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Rich Clark, the executive director of the college football playoffs. You're listening to The Drive.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
Hardees is hiring. Join the Star Team. Flexible scheduling, daily pay, free meals, 20% family discount, plus paid vacation for part-time and full-time employees. Apply in-store or online at Hardees.com today.
Hip or knee pain holding you back? There's a new reason to feel hopeful. Dr. Andrew Carlone is now part of the team at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics in Cleveland. He brings advanced training in total hip and knee replacement, including minimally invasive techniques that get you back on your feet faster. Let Cleveland's orthopedic experts help you live your best life. Call 423-624-2696 or go to sportmed.com to book your visit now.
Do you suffer from unsightly leg veins? Are your legs turning brown or swelling? Do your legs feel heavy, tired, or achy? Do you have restless legs or leg cramps disturbing your sleep? These symptoms are signs of bad veins. Dr. James Gooden at Milligan Vein offers an office treatment that can make you look and feel better, and your procedure is covered by most insurance. Find more information online at milliganvein.com or call Dr. Gooden today at 423-961-5682 and get rid of those bad veins.
You bleed orange. You never miss a Vols game. But when's the last time you showed that same pride in your smile? At Magnolia Dental Center of Cleveland, we treat every patient like it's 4th and goal. Fast, tough, and no-nonsense care. Just like the way Tennessee plays. Cleanings, repairs, full-on restorations. We'll get you back in the game. Magnolia Dental Center, proudly serving Vol Nation, one winning smile at a time. Call 423-476-3307 or visit magnoliadentalcenterofcleveland.com to schedule an appointment today.
When it comes to your vascular health, you have a choice. Don't wait weeks for an appointment or settle for less than the best. At the Vascular Institute of Chattanooga, we make it easy. Timely appointments where you're seen in days, not weeks. No referral needed. We're the only vascular practice in the region to accept self-referrals. And we have 6 convenient locations. Expert care, always close to home. Choosing VIC means choosing the regional leaders in vascular care, where experience, convenience, and advanced treatment come together for you. Your health, your choice. Choose VIC. Call today or visit vascularinstituteofchattanooga.com.
When life gets busy, Little Caesars can be there to help with hot and ready pizzas and more from 4 to 8 p.m. You can't beat the taste of delicious pizza at a great price and hot and ready for dinner. 3 locations, Paul Huff, Key Street, and McGrady Drive, or order online.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
The exclusive home of ESPN Radio in Cleveland and Chattanooga is ESPN Cleveland 1013. It's never been easier to listen. Just download the free ESPN Cleveland 1013 app from our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com. And with that, I'm very excited to introduce and bring on Rich Clark, the Executive Director of the College Football Playoff. And Rich, are you there with us?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. We've got you loud and clear. And first of all, I want to lead off with this. We really appreciate you taking the time to join our show today. And I want to start off by saying thank you so much for your service to our country. Very decorated Air Force, United States Air Force Lieutenant General, command pilot, and just kind of looking at all your Air Force credentials as a son of a man who served for the United States Air Force. Very thankful for your service.
Well, I appreciate that so much. And let me say at first, it's an honor to be on your show, and it was an honor to serve. I loved my time in the Air Force, and it was a great 38 years, but I am loving my role right now as CFP Executive Director. So love talking about it, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Well, Rich, this is Jim Gum, man, and we really appreciate you coming on with us. Now, tell our listeners out there, how in the world does somebody that spends 38 years in the United States Air Force transition into being the executive director of the college football players? Those two are dynamically different, so how in the world did this happen?
Man, I ask myself that every day, Jim, because I am so grateful to be here. But I will tell you, better lucky than good is what I always say. And I feel blessed to be here because I was the superintendent of the United States Air Force Academy. That was my final job. And we were in the Mountain West Conference, and I was obviously on the board for the Mountain West Conference. And I was part of the search for our commissioner. We transitioned from Craig Thompson, who was our former commissioner, to Gloria Navarez, who's our current commissioner of the Mountain West. And I met the search firm who did that search, and I also happened to be selected to be on the selection committee because I was going to retire, and I got nominated by our board as the Mountain West nominee for the selection committee, and I got picked for it. So I had two things going for me. One, I was going to be on the future selection committee, and two, I knew the search firm who subsequently did the search to replace Bill Hancock, who was my predecessor. So the long, convoluted story goes, they said, hey, we got a guy on the selection committee who might be interested in filling Bill's position, which he can never fill Bill's position because he's
That's
amazing.
Bill Hancock.
Bill Hancock, absolutely. And I knew the search firm, and they were like, oh, we know that guy. So those two pieces came together. They asked me if I'd put my name in the hat. I did. And somehow they made the mistake of hiring me. And here I am.
Well, I'll say this once again. This is Andy here. We're with Rich Clark, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff, and I do not think it's a mistake at all. One thing that I really like, and I know a lot of people, college football fans around the country like this, is you played football at the Air Force Academy. You're a linebacker on that monumental 1986 team that went 12-1. I believe finished 5th in the coaches poll that season. So you've not only got the executive experience, but the experience as a player as far as grassroots go. So that bodes very well for your future as the director of the College Football Playoff. So I believe college football is in great hands when it comes to the playoff with you at the helm. And also I want to throw this out there. I believe we have a mutual acquaintance, Scotty Boykin, who's coached some wrestling over there at the Air Force Academy.
Yes. He is awesome, and we have a great wrestling team. Those guys are just phenomenal. One of my favorite, of course, the football team. I can say it now because I'm not the superintendent anymore. Football team was my favorite, and wrestling was my next favorite because they were some warriors. And Scotty was just a great, great teammate for all of us. So that's great.
All right, Rich, let's talk about football now. So you've got 1 year of the 12-team playoff under your belt. What kind of grade would you give the entire playoffs from last year?
Oh, man. Okay. Well, I would give it a B+. I would give it a B+. And I say that honestly, going into it, when I first came on board last June, and me and our whole team here, which I love our team here at the CFP. There's only 24 of us, but it is a solid team. I'd go to war with these folks any day.
Okay.
But we said, if there's one thing that we know 100% for certain is that we're not going to get this 100% right. But we need to get it to a point where we can make some tweaks. And we're not missing the big rocks. We get the big rocks right so that we can then tweak it to that perfect place. And I think we did that last year. Those campus games were just spectacular.
Yes.
I went to two. I went to Ohio State and I went to Notre Dame. I have never been in a stadium like either of those places at that moment, and it was just spectacular. And I think you just couldn't deny that we started off in great fashion. The way that those institutions put those games on, it was just amazing. Then our bowl partners for the quarterfinals and semifinals, they brought that tradition of college football to those 6 games, and they were also just fantastic games. And then in Atlanta, the championship game, I couldn't have been happier with the way that came off. Now, the areas that we really have to figure out, there's some things in there in all of those games that we can do better, right? Some things that we can tweak so that they run a little bit more smoothly, that the fans get the full level of enjoyment that they deserve from it, and that our teams have a great transition. We want the team experience and the coaches to really have some great experiences. So there's some things in there that we're going to tweak, internal things that maybe the general public didn't see, but we saw, and we know, and we need to get them fixed. But then when you talk about the way that we seeded the teams last year, I think that we could have done better, and we are going to change that this year. Last year, the top 5 conference champions got into the playoff, and then the top 4 got buys, the top 4 of those conference champions. This year, we're going to go with the straight seeding.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a really significant change. It's going to give us better competition early on, and it's really going to give those teams the positions in the bracket that they deserve, that they earn throughout the season. So I think we'll have a good look and a better look even than we had last year. But overall, I was very proud of what our team did and how we executed that, and now we're just going to get better.
Hey, Rich, this is Jacob Mason. A great year one of the 12-team playoffs, but we have heard talks about the 16-team playoffs, and we've heard a couple different options, the 5-11 and the 4-4-2-2-1 models. Can you explain the differences between those for our listeners and what it means for the average football fan watching from home?
Sure. Great question, because those are sort of the two options that are on the table right now. So the 5+11 looks a lot like what we're going to be doing this coming year. So basically, the top 5 conference champions will get into the playoff, and then there will be 11 at-large teams. And all of those teams will be determined by the selection committee. So the top 16 teams will have a shot, but it'll first start off with the 5 highest-ranked conference champions will get in, and then the next 11 best teams, as the rankings go, will get in. So that's how that would go, by ranking, and they would be seeded by ranking. Does that one make sense?
Yes.
So that's the 5+11. Now, the automatic qualifier option is really, that's what you were talking about, the 4-4-2-2-1-1. So basically, in that model, the SEC and the Big Ten would each get 4 automatic qualifiers. The ACC and the Big 12 would each get 2 automatic qualifiers. There'd be 1 conference champion from
the group of 5.
Group of 6 that would get in. And then in this case, it would be 4-4, which is 8, 2-2, which is 12, 1, and then you'd have 3. If you go to 16, you could have 3 at-large teams that would get in. If you stayed at 12, it would be the 4-4-2-2-1-1.
Right.
And that would add up to 12. So that whole look, with all that being said, it's about automatic qualifiers, and they would be automatically qualified by the conferences, potentially by playing games, or the conferences could defer to the selection committee, and the highest ranked 4 teams from their conference would get in. There's a few different ways that it could go, but basically you have certainty in one model with the automatic qualifiers, but then in the 5+11, you take away a little bit of that uncertainty, because now you're leaving it up to the selection committee to do its job, and you don't know going into the season what any conference is really going to have. They got to earn their way in.
Right.
So two very different models, both viable. I mean, we'll make whichever one that the commissioners decide upon. We'll make it work, but they are pretty different looks for college football.
With so many voices at the table, from the SEC, the Big Ten, to the Group of 5, how challenging is it to find a format that everyone feels good about?
Yeah, it's hard to find something that everybody's going to be happy with, and I don't know if we're gonna get to a point where everybody's happy with whatever we do, because even right now you have different commissioners that favor one model or another, and neither one of them, you can't say that either one is right or wrong. They're just different, and for a lot of different reasons, they favor the one that best suits their conference, and rightly so, because they're hired to represent their conference. That's their job. I mean, of course, they have to consider what's great for college football in general, but that's a hard balance, right? It's kind of like Congress. Congress goes in, they're supposed to represent their district. Senators are supposed to represent their states, but they also have to do what's best for the country. And finding that balance is really tough. That's why Congress is Congress.
You don't have to go into detail there, man. We all know exactly what you mean. Now, Rich, I want to do me a favor here. Take your executive director's hat off, and this is Rich Clark, the person, the football player, has nothing to do with being on the executive director.
Rich, watch out for Jim's games here. Watch out for his games.
Exactly. Should the 4 power leagues all play the same number of conference games, whether it be 8 or be 9? In your opinion, this is just Rich Clark's opinion, should they all 4 play the same number of conference games?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. So I think that really has to be up to the conferences, and here's why. I think but I think they need to make sure that they're making an educated decision on this, right? Based on, going outside of their conference, who they play outside of their conference. That is really going to matter because schedule strength matters. Wins and losses and all the things that go into this from a CFP perspective. I think they just need to really think it through and determine how many conference games they're going to play and how many out of conference, because it's gonna pay off. And if they're going to go with more out of the conference, they need to choose wisely who they're playing outside of their conference. The more games you choose, the more wisely you need to choose them. So I think I hate to say that they all need to do the same thing, because all conferences are not equal. They're not all created equal. They're all a little bit different. So I am a fan of leaving that up to them and then living with the consequences of your choices after that.
Yeah, great answer there. Once again, joined by Rich Clark, the executive director of the College Football Playoff. And kind of going off the conversation of conferences, there's been some notable figures in college football, such as Penn State head coach James Franklin. And I want to give you a heads up here. I'm a big Notre Dame guy. Going into the Orange Bowl, he said right there in the press conference going into the Orange Bowl that he felt like all teams should be in a conference to be eligible for the College Football Playoff. When that topic comes up, where do you personally and the committee as well stand on that?
So I disagree, and the reason is I believe that our selection committee will do a good job of ranking the top 25 teams, whether you're in a conference or not, and then you get seeded in accordance with your ranking. So I don't think that you have to be in a conference or out of a conference. You're going to play football. You're going to play the teams that you play, and we're going to rank you accordingly. So I disagree with that sentiment that you have to be in a conference to be able to get into the playoff. We're going to rank you regardless of who you play. Now, I do think though that I go back to where I was, that if you're not in a conference, that you need to choose your opponents wisely.
Yes.
And not try to give yourself, not try to overthink it, but play a competitive schedule, and then most importantly, win your games. And athletic directors and coaches really need to be thoughtful, and Notre Dame has done a pretty good job with that. I think they play a good balanced schedule, and last year they won them. They had the one stumble with Northern Illinois, but then they really ran the table after that, and they did a good job. So they had a competitive schedule. They won the games, and they were able to really make it to that championship game. But you have to do that year in and year out, I think. So some of the other conferences, they have some built-in challenging schedules that gives them sort of a natural opportunity to do well in their conference and get into the playoff. That's a good thing too. But the bottom line is win your games, play a challenging schedule, and you got a shot.
Rich, explain to us how the cities that get the national championship games, how does that happen? I know there's a process,
a bidding process,
but how involved are you involved in that, and what are some of the criteria that you guys look at for the city that gets the bid?
Yeah, it is a bidding process, and we go out to the market, and people submit their packages, and there's a lot of variables in there, and the stadium that they have, the area around them for our events, their sort of track record with holding big events and hosting them in a good fashion. A lot of times we try to choose destination cities where people want to go, but we look at all of the things that make for a spectacular event, not just a spectacular game, but a spectacular event. And that is very important to us. And if you notice, most of the games we play are in NFL stadiums. So that's also very important. And does that team, are they ready to bring us in? Are they ready and willing to bring us in? And most are. We get great cooperation from our NFL partners. So it's really, what does that city offer beyond just giving us a great stadium, but do they give us everything else that we need? The hotels around the stadium, the event space around the stadium, the airport, and just, the kinds of things that make for a very smooth but spectacular event is really important to us. And we look at them very closely, and we also try to look at geographics. We don't want them to all be in the same section of the country all the time. We want fans to have, an opportunity to maybe not have to travel as far if their team. We don't obviously know who's going to be playing in the game, but if we spread it out and have it at different parts of the stadium, we don't look like we're being biased, in who we're picking. So there's a lot that goes into it, but really, we're looking for a spectacular event and a destination-type city that can host it.
We've got a new stadium that's under construction just up the road here in Nashville. I know that they've already said that they're going to bid for the national championship game and a Super Bowl. Then you got stadiums like in Cleveland, Ohio, Chicago, Washington, D.C. They're all going to be built, and all of those stadiums are going to have fixed roofs. In your opinion, let's say, unless you're like deep in Florida or maybe in Pasadena or somewhere like that, having a roof, is that a criteria that you really, I guess, is that a bias towards you that there's no rain can affect the play on the field?
Yeah, I will say that if it's in a cold weather city, having a fixed roof is imperative. Because we don't want snow on the championship game. And so that's very important to us. And obviously we will play in places, and we do in our quarters and semis. Like you mentioned Pasadena, we play in places without roofs, right? But that place is built to play without a roof. It's okay. But some places aren't.
Right.
Cleveland, that'd be a rough one.
Yes, that would be. It would.
Yeah. But with a roof, we can make it work. And so we do look at that, and it's important. Weather is important too. Looking at where we're going to go at that time of year, that's January 20th-ish. We want to see what the weather pattern's like in that place, and that goes into our calculus. But we are and have gone into some cold weather. We went to Indianapolis, and it was cold. Shoot, it was cold in Atlanta last year.
Yep.
It was freezing.
Yeah.
So, weather's a factor, but it's not, it's not a make or break kind of thing.
Once again, Rich Clark, the executive director of the College Football Playoff, joining the drive here. And, Rich, I just want to say this. You've came onto a show right here in the heart of volunteer country, talking to a Notre Dame guy, an Ohio State guy, and a Georgia Bulldog guy. And I think you've passed the test pretty well. You've done a great job with that. But the last thing I've got for you, and I know Jacob's got one more question, is as far as the committee goes picking for the playoff, if you have a team, for example, that traditionally is in a pretty strong conference and has a pretty good schedule, years that their schedule might not have the body of work by scheduling, in conference games where the teams just might not be as good that year, how much of an effect does that have on their selection?
Well, it can have an effect, but if they win their games and they win the games that they're supposed to win from the committee's standpoint, then they're gonna be okay. And we understand that you're not going to have this incredible schedule strength every year, but win the games that you're supposed to win. You shouldn't lose to teams that are weaker than you or teams that maybe have a weaker schedule than you. So, but I will say, if you have a very strong schedule and you win in that, your chances go up pretty significantly. Yeah. So, some of it is a bit of the draw of what you get, and the committee tries to understand that. That's why we have human beings on the committee. You know, they look at that, and they are able to discern how a team does with the given strength of schedule that they have.
All right, General Clark, final question we have for you. You've led at the highest levels of combat in the classroom, on the football field, and now in the college football world. For our young listeners out there chasing their dreams with the families that are trying to support them, what advice would you give them about staying the course, overcoming setbacks, and becoming the kind of leader that you have become today?
Boy, that's a really good question. So my main advice to anyone is to lead with your values. You know, whatever you're doing, you have to consider that you are doing it to the best of your ability, but most importantly, you're doing it with your values out front. And what do I mean by values? So here at the CFP, we have really 3 core values that we talk about. And those values are integrity, humility, and excellence. And I'll give you a quote. Have you ever heard of a philosopher, Lao Tzu? He's an ancient Chinese philosopher, 500 BC. And he had a great quote, and I'm sure you've heard this quote. Your thoughts become words, your words become actions, your actions become habits, and your habits become your character. Your character is your destiny. Character is everything. And when you lead with your values, you lead with character, you will find success. And for us, our thoughts and words are those 3 values: integrity, humility, and excellence. But the word or the actions and the habits are most important. And we actually include those with our values. So if you're living and working with integrity, then you're a person that lives honorably. You live honorably in everything you do, whether it's your personal life or your professional life, you do it with honor. If you're living with humility, then you lift others. You lift others before yourself. And sometimes we've worked with people who will climb on the backs of the people that they work with or their teammates or their coworkers to find success. But be the kind of leader that leads with humility and lifts people ahead of you. Now, humility doesn't mean that you think less of yourself. It means that you think of yourself less, and you put others ahead of yourself and lift them instead of yourself. And that's what humility is all about. And excellence. Excellence is about elevating performance. And we've always heard, people say, well, excellence means you're the best. You're better than anybody else. Well, not necessarily. Excellence means that you elevate performance. And I have a saying, I always say there is no end to better. And elevating performance means that you're better today than you were yesterday. You're better this season than you were last season, or this year than you were last year. You're always constantly striving to get better, and it's a mindset that you have. So leading with your character, leading with your values is what's going to take you to your true destiny. Integrity, humility, excellence. Live honorably, lift others, elevate performance. That's the key in my mind. And then the other one is do something that you are passionate about. Do something that you love. I've heard people say, if you're doing something that you love, you never work a day in your life. And I have been so blessed to be able to do something in the Air Force that I loved. I was a pilot. I was at the Air Force Academy. Now I work in college football. I can't tell you how grateful I am to be here. But regardless, do it with character.
Great stuff, Rich. Man, we really appreciate you. Now, before we let you go, I got to get a biased answer from you. I want biased. The Air Force Thunderbirds or the Navy Blue Angels?
Oh, there's no bias. This is fact. The Air Force Thunderbirds every day, any day. That's a fact. Come on.
I love it.
That's good stuff.
Rich, man, we thank you. We thank you so much, man, and we hope that we can get you on again sometime in the future, man.
Any day, any day. I love talking to you guys, and let me just say I appreciate what you do for college football for sure, college athletics definitely, but really just all sports. We appreciate you guys being there and representing us. So thank you, and thanks for having me on today.
All right, Rich. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Rich Clark, the executive director
of the college football playoff, and man, boy, this guy, He didn't disappoint, did he?
No, what a great interview.
That speech there at the end, like the advice, like I
got chills.
I'm clipping it.
He just got me hyped
and
up.
I'm playing it for every athlete that I run into.
Do you guys remember who did he say that was the quote?
Some guy from China, 500 BC.
I was going to ask if you grew up with him, Jim. I wasn't sure if you might know that guy or not.
Yeah, I went to elementary school with him. Yeah, exactly.
But hey, listen, with that interview, I think it's safe to say the drive has arrived. Thanks to Jim Gum for lining that up for us. Let's go ahead. Hey, right here, Jim Gum, baby. That was great. He lined that up for us. Hey, with that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, got to talk about the Atlanta Braves trying to take care of business in the rubber match tonight against the, can we call them the Sacramento A's?
Call them the Sacramento A's.
Sacramento A's.
We got to get Austin to know that where they're playing.
That's right. When we come back right here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
When you're craving serious burger goodness, head to Hardees for the all-new barbecued pulled pork Frisco burger. A charbroiled, quarter-pound, 100% Angus beef patty, topped with 16 hours slow-smoked barbecued pulled pork on toasted sourdough. Only for a limited time at Hardees. Get a free pulled pork Frisco burger when you download the app and join My Rewards. See app for terms.
Don Ledford Chevrolet's summer upgrade sales event is going on now to the end of July. You'll get tremendous discounts and factory rebates on their entire inventory of Chevrolet pickups and SUVs. Listen to these two great purchase deals. By stock number 26002, a 2026 Chevrolet Equinox, 1LT SUV model with an MSRP of $34,355 for just $28,175. That's over $2,000 in savings on a new 2026 model. Take home stock number 25005. A 2025 Silverado 1500 LT 4x4 crew cab with the All-Star and C71 packages that has an MSRP of $63,720 for only $52,355. That's over $11,300 in savings, or 18% off on a truck that you don't want to miss. Special leasing options available as well. Come in today and save big. Don Ledford Chevrolet, Northley Highway, Cleveland. DonLedford.com for details and a trade assistance coupon. Don Ledford Chevrolet, where they say yes. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Wholesale prices include qualifying rebates, plus tax, tag, and title, and dealer fee of $649. Must take delivery by July 31st, 2025.
ESPN Cleveland 101.3 is powered by Duracell.
Cleveland Tire Center, locally owned and operated for over 45 years. Cleveland Tire, your one-stop auto care shop in Cleveland. Northley Highway, where the name says it all.
When you need a new roof, it's all about trust. Your home is too big an investment and you can't afford to make a mistake. Cleveland Plywood has the products and expertise you're looking for. Contractors have trusted them for over 50 years, and they carry only proven products from reputable suppliers like IKO. IKO Cambridge is one of the heaviest weight asphalt shingles you can buy, and their limited warranties are among the industry's best. Protect the investment you've made in your home. Go with the pros at Cleveland Plywood, 2700 20th Street Northeast in Cleveland. Call 472-3357. For a quarter of a century, Mix 1041 has been taking you out to the ball games.
Swanson to first. The Braves are world champions.
Since 2000, Mix 1041 has been the home of the Atlanta Braves, and we're celebrating by giving away tickets to Atlanta Braves games all summer long. Listen for your chance to call or text to qualify. You can also register at the Mix socials on Facebook and Instagram. Braves 25 is presented by Cleveland Ford. Honest people, honest deals. Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
Welcome back to The Drive. For over 100 years, Mayfield Dairy has been delivering farm-fresh dairy beloved by Southern families. In 1983, Mayfield introduced its iconic yellow jug. The new jug helps block harmful light rays, protecting the flavor and nutrients in the milk. Learn more about Mayfield today at MayfieldDairy.com.
Hey, the exclusive home of ESPN Radio in Cleveland and Chattanooga. Let me repeat that. Cleveland and Chattanooga is ESPN Cleveland 101.3. It's never been easier to download or to listen Download the free ESPN Cleveland 101.3 app from our website. Go to ESPNCleveland1013.com. Yes, we are the only all sports radio format in the greater Chattanooga area.
That's right. Jim, you hype me up every time you say it, too.
I love it.
Hey, listen, very excited. Just had Rich Clark, the executive director of the College Football Playoff, on the drive. Great interview. Appreciate you lining that up for us, Jim. We had a lot of fun with that and got some clarity on some things. Moving forward, I think that's going to be a lot of fun to see if we expand to the 16 teams, if we stay at 12, and how this format works out.
Yeah, we could have interviewed him for an hour straight. You know, he was a wealth of knowledge. One thing that I loved that he talked about was how much he enjoyed the home game environment. That gives me hope. That gives me hope that, like, if we do expand, that the first 2 rounds might be at home.
I'm here for it.
You know, if that's how the executive feels, then maybe, you know, that could be a telling sign of the future of what that looks like.
And think about this, guys. The straight sitting, you know, we're going to do this year. Had that been in place last year,
oh man,
Tennessee would have hosted a game instead of going on the road.
So on this show, leading into all that, Josh Rogers and I had talked about it going back a while, how we felt like Tennessee got snubbed of a home game because of the format at the time.
The way it was seated, yeah.
If this continues, as Jacob just said, it sounds like you're going to go straight seating, which is the right way to do it. In any sport, straight seating is the right way to do it. And if you are a conference champ, you get that bye, that's great. I understand the idea behind it. But going with the straight seating is really going to ensure that the teams that have really earned it, probably the teams that are going to have one of the better home atmospheres, that's part of being successful. You're talking about hosting a game at Neyland Stadium, as you said.
It would have been SMU, and I think Tennessee matched
They
up
would have crushed them.
Way better.
They would have
than
crushed
SMU,
them.
for sure.
Absolutely. So, great interview. Excited to have him on the show.
Yeah, if Neyland got to host a game, Ohio State went on to win it. You know, they were the best team, but you just never know. Once you go into Neyland, walking out of there, it's one of the when I go in there as an opposing fan, I legitimately have to cover my ears sometimes because I'm leaving there with my ears ringing. You know, it's a hostile environment, and, you know, it's something that I feel like we did miss out on last year just because of the way that the format was. And they talked about wanting to get better, and that was one of the ways that he said that they could get better as a committee.
I'm thinking about it. Can you imagine, like, a playoff game in Neyland Stadium, Sanford Stadium in Athens, the Swamp, the Big House? We always saw Notre Dame Stadium, Autzen Stadium there in Oregon. Those environments are so good during the regular season. We know how great they are in the regular season. Add another level, a playoff game. I cannot imagine how crazy it would be between the hedges in the Swamp at Neyland.
Can you imagine had this been in format when Coach O was still the head coach at LSU? He would have been. Listen, you give him a Friday night, Saturday night game. Coach O is coaching with his shirt off. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Orgeron, man, not afraid to rip that shirt off and party a little bit. But
I love the home environment. I love the on-campus, the way. Listen, I know around here college football is way more important than the NFL and a lot more followed. But man, NFL playoff games are awesome.
Because they're at home.
They're at home, and I think college football has shown now that playing it on campus is a great way to do the postseason.
Yeah, it sounds like Rich Clark.
At least part of it.
Rich Clark seems to be on the same page with that from his answers to our questions on that. And the future of the college football playoff is going to be exciting to watch unfold.
Yeah, for sure. And really, on campus, that's where the heart of college football is. That's what makes college football.
And think about this. You know, you had all these games being played, and the schools were already out for the Christmas break. Didn't matter. The attendance was solid. You had 3 games where you had 100,000 fans at Texas, at Penn State, Ohio State, and Notre Dame had 80,000. The reason they don't have 100, the stadium doesn't seat that many.
They've taken away the seating for box seats.
But
that's why.
There was not an empty seat in any of those 4 venues.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all packed to the rafters. Rafters, that's not a basketball arena, but they were packed to the very top row. But the environment was good. Everything about it was so much better to me than a neutral site environment.
You know what they like to say at Notre Dame? It was packed all the way up to touchdown Jesus. Exactly. Is what they like to say.
I just love games being played in the collegiate stadiums. I just think the environment's better than it is at a neutral site. I just do.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, want to thank Mayfield Dairy for sponsoring all of our Braves coverage here on The Drive. The Braves snapped a 5-game losing streak last night, beating the Athletics, as we refer to them, the Sacramento Athletics, 9-2. Bryce Elder was phenomenal. Had that sinker ball working big time last night. Got a lot of swing and misses. He went 6 2/3. Only allowed 8 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. The bullpen, clean outing from the bullpen for the Braves, and offense was powered by the long ball early. A season 5 home runs in the game. Hopefully they can, whatever they channeled, whatever water they're drinking out there in California, hopefully they bottle it up, keep it with them through the All-Star break, come back out second half and keep it going, because the offense last night was a lot of fun. Acuna had a solo home run in the first inning. Baldwin had a 3-run home run in the first inning as well, giving the Braves a 4-0 early lead. Austin Riley, 2-run home run in the second. Acuna homers again, second home run of the game in the fourth inning, another solo shot, which I know some people have some opinions, him hitting leadoff and all these home runs and not a lot of runs coming in with it, but he's doing his job and he's kind of sparking that energy. Ozuna, a guy who's been rumored to be on the trade market, solo home run in the sixth. A multi-hit game for 1 through 4 in the order: Acuna, Olsen, Riley, and Baldwin. So a good offensive night. And Matt Olsen started his 711th consecutive game last night.
That's incredible. And Acuna, again, a leadoff home run. How many times has this guy done that?
And he's hitting .336. His season's abbreviated coming back from the injury, but already at 11 home runs, 20 RBIs.
I mean, he's the most dangerous leadoff hitter there is, in my opinion. But, I mean, listen, there's some good ones out there. I guess I need to look at everyone's. Does Ohtani, is he lead off?
He has been. He has been.
Now, when he's leading off, he's the most dangerous. But
Yeah.
Acuna's, I mean, he's right there with him.
I'll be honest. I don't know that I would ever throw Acuna a first pitch strike.
No way.
I don't know that I would ever do it.
Well, knowing that he likes to swing at it, a chase pitch is what you need
and
if
he
you're smart. but-
crushed that first inning.
I think guys like to challenge him just to see.
430 feet or something like
They
that.
said 429, but like
It was further than that.
It had to be further than that.
Yeah, it was an absolute tape measure, no doubter.
Hey, I want to say this. Shout out to the Chattanooga Lookouts, because we're obviously in-house the other night. Watching that game last night, AT&T Park and soon to be Erlanger across the way, just as nice, probably nicer than that park the A's are playing in right now out in Sacramento, AAA Stadium. And just watching the game, like the playing surface is fine, but just watching the game, hey, give me a Lookouts game, baby.
By the way, I don't know if y'all know this, but Sacramento's hosting the A's. They still have a minor league team that's playing in that ballpark also. So they're playing like 150 games on that field.
Get some wear and tear on it.
And the field looked great.
Yeah, Lord, God bless that Fields crew.
Oh, gosh.
Think about the hours that they're putting in. I'd be like, you need to start paying me a little bit of double time.
Yeah,
No
eat your
doubt.
heart out, John Wilson, Jacob Mason, right?
Hey, I got a question for you since we're on the Braves. We talked about yesterday that we felt like the Braves probably need to be around 90 wins to make the playoffs.
Got to win about 50 games.
Yeah. Do you agree with that? Do you
Yeah.
think that that's the number, the 90 number?
I mean, 88 to 90, somewhere around
To
there.
get in at the pace, you're going to need some help from some other teams as far as this wild card race goes. I don't see the Phillies or the Mets allowing any wiggle room for the Braves to get back in the division. It would be an epic meltdown on their part if that does happen. Currently, the Phillies lead the Mets by half a game, so tight things up there in the National League East. But it's going to be getting in probably that fourth wild card spot, maybe the third, depending on how things work out. But you're going to need some help from these other teams. They're going to need to struggle in the second half, where the Braves clean it up in the second half. But hey, starts tonight. Braves currently finally got to that 40th win, 40-51, fourth place in the National League East, 13 games back in the division, 9.5 in the wild card. So it's doable. 9.5. We've seen it happen before. It's not impossible, but we're going to have a little bit of help.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of help. I mean, you got Miami ahead of you, Arizona, Cincinnati, St. Louis, San Diego. Those teams are not in the playoff as we sit here today.
Yeah.
But, I mean, listen, you got the Mets, the Brewers, and the Giants would be the 3 National League wildcard teams if this started today.
Yeah, rubber match tonight out in Sacramento against the A's. First pitch at 9:05. That game will be on Mix 104.1. Also pre and post game, as well as game coverage right here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. And listen, Spencer Strider on the mound tonight, looking better every time he rolls out there, getting that ERA down. He's at a 3.93 ERA, taking on J.P. Sears, who's 7-7. for the A's with a 4.76 ERA. So hopefully Bravos can continue off the offensive production last night, keep it going tonight, and we have something to be optimistic about when it comes to the Braves as they move into their last series pre-All-Star break starting tomorrow out in St. Louis. So a lot of fun. Obviously, here on the show, we're going to talk a lot of All-Star break here soon, being right down the road in Atlanta, all the festivities and everything going on down there. Excited about that. So, listen, big show today.
Yep.
A lot of fun. Jim Gum, you're the man. Thanks for setting that up for us.
You're welcome, man. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to get into the best athlete thing. We've got that coming up this next week.
Yeah,
sure.
got to tease that a little bit more. Who are the best athletes to come out of Cleveland and Bradley County? Had Quantel Langford on the other day, and he threw some Cleveland names out there that, listen, hard to argue with. Yep. And I know we're going to have our friends at Bradley, friends at Walker Valley, Charleston, having some opinions as well. So excited to talk about that topic here on The Drive. You've been listening to The Drive. Have a great day, everybody.
It's time for a Don Ledford of Cleveland traffic update on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Don Ledford Chevrolet Buick GMC, located on North Lee Highway in Cleveland. Or visit donledford.com for details. Don Ledford, where we say yes. It's on-time traffic with Commander Chuck.
Good afternoon. Still lots of radar over here. Be careful throughout the evening on 75 at Shallowford Road. They've been over there north and southbound today, cracking down on speeders there in the construction on 75 around Shallowford there in Hamilton Place, small area as traffic increases 153 across the dam back into the Hickson area. Riggs Lock and Key, Chattanooga's leading locksmith since 1973. If you get locked out, it's okay. Just call Riggs Lock and Key in Chattanooga. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
From the Alon Planning Partners Weather Center, here's your forecast on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Visit them online at alonplanning.com or give them a call at 423-315-1441.
Scattered storms fading away as we head through the evening. Hopefully the clouds will clear enough so that you can see that full buck moon tonight. Take lots of pictures overnight. Patchy clouds and fog, 71 for the overnight low heading into Friday morning. Friday afternoon, a high of 90 degrees, a heat index of 95, and we'll have some scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. Hot and muggy with a high of 91 Saturday with scattered storms Saturday afternoon as well. Download the Local 3 weather app, free for iPhone and Android. I'm Chief Meteorologist David Carnes for the Local 3 Storm Alert Team.
Your current Milligan Vane temperature is 83 degrees. MilliganVane.com.
This is John Davis, the trade-in man for Kia of Cleveland, and I need your help. We're under construction, and I've got cars everywhere. I've got them in the grass, down the street. We need to get these cars where they belong, in your driveway. So we're rolling them out of here at whatever price it takes. Bring us any trade in any condition, and we will give you $7,000 more than Kelley Blue Book fair value for the purchase of any new Kia, Telluride, Sorrento, or Sportage. Yes, $7,000 more than your trade is worth. Are you a credit challenge car buyer? That's okay. At Kia Cleveland, our lenders will say yes to you and yes to your situation. Remember, I'll be any deal from anywhere in Georgia, Tennessee, or